On this day in Tudor history, the 24th of September 1561, a baby with a very big question mark over his head was born in the Tower of London. He was christened 2 days later, Edward Seymour, Viscount Beauchamp. I'm historian and author Claire Ridgway, and let me introduce you to a boy who arrived in prison, lived under a cloud, and quietly became a vital hinge in England's succession story. Beauchamp's parents were Lady Katherine Grey, younger sister of the tragic Lady Jane Grey, or Queen Jane, and Edward Seymour, 1st Earl of Hertford, son of Henry VIII's brother-in-law, the Lord Protector Somerset. They had married secretly in late 1560 without Queen Elizabeth I's permission, a dangerous gamble when Catherine was so close to the throne with her royal blood. When the marriage came to light, Elizabeth was furious. The pair were locked up in the Tower of London, and little Edward was born within those walls. That single act, marrying without the Queen's consent, cast a lifelong shadow. Elizabeth never recognised the marriage, which meant that in law, Edward and his brother, who was also born in the Tower, were illegitimate. And yet, look at the family tree. Beauchamp's maternal grandparents were Henry Grey, Duke of Suffolk, and Frances Brandon, daughter of Mary Tudor, Queen of France, Henry VIII's sister, and Charles Brandon, Duke of Suffolk. On his father's side, he was a grandson of Edward Seymour, Duke of Somerset, the powerful Lord Protector in Edward VI's minority, and Anne Stanhope. In short, the baby in the Tower sat squarely in the line Henry VIII had sketched in his will. After Edward, Mary and Elizabeth, the crown should pass to the heirs of Mary Tudor, the Brandon Grey line. That's why the legality of his parents' marriage mattered so very much. After a few early years with his mother, Catherine died in 1568, Beauchamp was largely raised under the formidable eye of his grandmother, the Dowager Duchess of Somerset. He was educated at home at Hanworth and later at Magdalen College, Oxford, thoroughly prepared for a gentleman's life, if not for a crown he never openly pursued. History has a way of repeating itself, though. In 1581, Beauchamp married secretly, just as his parents had done, choosing Honora Rogers, daughter of Sir Richard Rogers of Bryanstone, Dorset. His father and grandmother were livid. A family tug-of-war followed, all the way to petitions before the Queen and the Council. This time, the verdict favoured the lovers. The marriage stood. Edward and Honora were eventually reconciled with the family and went on to have 3 sons. By the way, one of those sons, William Seymour, would later make his own splash by secretly marrying Arbella or Arbella Stuart, another succession flashpoint, before becoming a leading royalist and much later Duke of Somerset. The family knack for awkward love matches clearly ran strong. On paper, Beauchamp had a serious claim through his great-grandmother Mary Tudor. In practice, he never pressed it. Perhaps he'd learned his lesson from the Tower cradle or simply preferred peace to politics. Elizabeth I, for her part, left him alone, but she also refused to legitimise his parents' union. He was styled Viscount Beauchamp as a courtesy, yet not recognised as his father's lawful heir. When James I came to the throne in 1603, he didn't overturn Elizabeth's ruling on the marriage, but he did grant that Beauchamp could inherit his father's earldom of Hertford when the time came. Fate intervened. Beauchamp died first, on the 13th of July 1612 at Wick in Wiltshire, aged 50. He was laid to rest at Bedwyn Magna and later reinterred at Salisbury Cathedral. His father outlived him until 1621, and the title passed to Beauchamp's son, William. Edward Seymour, Viscount Beauchamp, lived carefully in a dangerous age. He was born into a succession tangle, refused to become a pawn, and managed remarkably to keep his head and his liberty. His life reminds us that the Tudors and early Stuart succession wasn't just the straight line we sketch in school books. It really was a web of wills, marriages, and legitimacy rulings, with real lives caught in the strands. And on this day, we remember that baby born in the Tower, whose very existence tested a queen's resolve, and whose quiet choices helped keep the peace. If you enjoyed this story, then please do like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more daily Tudor history. And tell me in the comments, should Elizabeth I have recognised Catherine Grey's marriage, or was she right to keep every rival claim on a tight leash? I'll see you soon. Bye bye.